Namaskar, myself Deepak Kumar Rath. I welcome you all to the digital media of Uday India. Friends and my dear audiences, today we are so lucky that we have with us, we are right now at the DRDO Bhavan Defense Research Development Organization, and with me Mr. Dr. Samir V Kamat is there. He is Secretary, Department of Ministry of Defense and also Chairman of DRDO. I welcome Mr. Kamat and Mr. Kamat, I welcome you to the digital media of Uday India. First, I want to ask you, this is a new India and just after completion of G20 and just after successful of Chandrayaan 3, the whole nation, Bharat, and in fact whole world has a focus on India, what India is doing. And for a nation, security is an important aspect. So can you in brief tell me, what is DRDO's outstanding performance or achievements? Let us tell our viewers.
So thank you, Mr. Rath, for having this interview with me.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, the current mood of the nation is very elevated.
Correct.
The G20 conducted so magnificently by our Honorable PM.
Yeah.
Has been a big success.
Yeah.
The Chandrayaan 3 mission of ISRO has also given lot of prominence to scientists in the country.
Yeah.
So DRDO being the premier R&D organization working in defense, it has given our scientists also great motivation to contribute to the security of the nation.
Correct.
As you mentioned, if the economy has to grow, we have to have a strong defense.
Yeah.
And a strong defense can only happen when you have your own R&D and develop your own technologies in defense.
Yeah.
So that is the role that DRDO plays. And over the last few years, we have made the country Atmanirbhar or self-reliant in several systems.
Okay.
Now, for example, our missiles, I can say, are one of the best in the world. We are able to make not only the missiles required for our strategic deterrence, but we are able to make all types of missiles required by our services. Then our radars are state of the art, our electronic warfare systems, our sonars, our torpedoes, our ATACMS gun. It's one of the longest ranges of any guns available in the world. So it's an advanced towed array artillery gun. It is one of the best guns in the world. We are also aware that our BrahMos missile is now being exported to Philippines. We are receiving export interest from several countries. You are aware that this year India has exported 16,000 crores worth of defense equipment.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are from DRDO technologies and systems. So DRDO is playing its role in ensuring Atmanirbharta in defense.
Mr. Kamat, you described many things, missiles and BrahMos and everything. But there is a moot question here. What was, because it is the government who give policy decisions, how it was before, I can say 10 years back, and after, since last 10 years, is there any policy changes, decision making process, whether it is making fast? Because I asked you the achievements, you counted it, but still you also know in missiles or in BrahMos or in many sectors. DRDO does research and development. Don't you feel this is not sufficient? Where is the lacuna? Or do you think that more needs to be done and you have already started that?
No, so once this government has taken over in 2014,
Yeah.
this government has given increasing thrust to self-reliance or Atmanirbhar and Make in India,
Yeah.
which was not there earlier.
Yeah.
Now this has given a big boost to industry to participate in the defense sector.
Yeah.
And now they are coming forward to design and develop systems. Earlier, since there was no assurance of orders, because a lot of our equipment were getting imported, the industry also was not that enthused to come into the defense sector.
Mm-hmm.
But with this government's thrust, now we are getting an ecosystem created within the country where there is interest in large industries, in MSMEs and startups to work in the defense sector. The academia also now is increasingly willing to work on defense problems. So we now have created a defense ecosystem where the defense systems, which are incremental advances over the current defense system, can be handled by the Indian industry themselves. So the design and development of these kind of systems can happen directly by industry. DRDO has started this process by making industries our development cum production partners. Subsequently, they can do the design and development of the next advances themselves. So this process has started. This will free up DRDO for doing futuristic technologies which will make us a global leader.
Yeah.
So all the new disruptive technologies which are emerging, such as quantum technologies, artificial intelligence and machine learning, smart materials, cognitive technologies, these are some of the new cutting edge areas that DRDO is now focusing on, directed energy weapons. And we hope that by focusing our efforts in these futuristic areas, we will make the country a leader in defense technologies and will provide our services with cutting edge defense systems in the future.
Correct. Thank you. Mr. Kamat, many of the DRDO's achievements that have proved to be very good, technology demonstrators, particularly in the field of missiles, as you told. But have they been produced in enough numbers? Don't you think it required more? It is.
So the production, DRDO does not do production.
Yeah.
DRDO is a R&D organization. So we develop a prototype, we prove it. Then we have a production agency, or now we call them DCPPs. So production happens in the industry. But the industry will produce only if there is orders from the services. So now, as I said, with the government's reliance and trust and Raksha Mantri and Honorable Prime Minister's thrust on self-reliance, Atmanirbharta and Make in India, these orders are now coming to the industry. So now you will see going ahead, several of our systems will be produced in large numbers.
Okay. So, what are the responses from the Indian industry for Make in India? And in the past, there have been many cases when defense PSUs have been nominated to produce a weapon system or some equipment. What is the present status?
So, as I said, the Indian industry is now enthused. They have embraced this Make in India because now they see that if they invest their time and effort in developing and producing a system, it will be bought by our services. So several new industries have come into the defense sector. There are large industries such as L&T, Mahindra's, Bharat Forge, Adani's. Then there are smaller industries, MSMEs, where the number is very large. And then there are startups. So I am very sure that in the coming years, we will be one of the leading defense technology and systems producer in the world.
Okay. Which arms or equipments have been produced to counter terrorism, and which of them have and will be produced for central armed police forces and state police forces also?
So we don't directly work for making such systems, but several of our systems have an offshoot or a spin-off
Yeah.
for CAPFs. So we are actively working with the Home Ministry to see how our systems which we have developed for our armed forces can be modified suitably to meet their requirements. So this is an active program. We have a separate group which is addressing these issues, and several of our systems have now been inducted into the CAPFs.
Mhm.
So it is a very good question, and I think the benefits of defense R&D should also go to our central armed police
And state police forces.
and state police forces.
Okay. So is the coordination is going perfectly, and how much you are hopeful whether it will be really?
So as I said, we have a mechanism in place where Home Secretary and myself, we sit together twice in a year and then identify what are the systems of DRDO which can be of use to the central police.
Dr. Kamat, as you told, you have now counted number of your visions and achievements and your coordinations with armed forces and for making successful the Atmanirbhar Bharat. And as we have seen, there are many media reports also. The government is also, especially the Prime Minister is also very hopeful of giving more impetus to DRDO. Can you tell me what is the future plan of DRDO? What is your vision, and what change this the people will see in coming days for strengthening the armed forces and security system and defense forces in India, and how much we are hopeful of selling that things we can export the equipments and missiles and other things. Future plans.
Sure. So, our Prime Minister has set the country a target of becoming a developed country in the next 25 years. He has also set us a target that we should become a defense technology leader in the coming 25 years. We are working under this vision of our Honorable Prime Minister and under the guidance of our Honorable Raksha Mantri. So we are, as I told you, gradually transitioning to working on futuristic technologies which will give the lead cutting edge to our defense systems. So our vision is to work on these new disruptive technologies, futuristic technologies such as hypersonic missiles, directed energy weapons. So within the next 15 years, you will see a DRDO which will make the country a leader in defense technology. And once you become a leader, you will be able to export all our systems globally. Currently also our exports are on a rising trend, but over the next 15 years, my wish and hope is that we will become one of the leading exporters in the world.
Sir, you know, recently India is going to use the G technology engines, G engines, and DRDO, we could not say become failure, but what about Kaveri engines? What is its status? Why it become failure? And
So, yeah, I understand your question. So let me tell you, aero engine technology
Because it is
a very
linked.
challenging technology. Only 4 nations in the world have mastered this technology. So it's a very challenging technology. So Kaveri engine, I would not say is a failure. We were not able to meet the thrust required for our LCA platform. But the engine is doing well. It is producing a slightly lower thrust. So we are now using the dry Kaveri engine for our future program for unmanned aerial vehicle. So the Kaveri work that we have done will get utilized in our unmanned aerial vehicle. It will not go into LCA because it could not meet the thrust requirements of LCA. That's why we had to go for the GE engine.
yeah,
But this will be the base on which we will now build capabilities for developing the next generation engine, which is the 110 kilonewton thrust engine. So here we are looking at working in collaboration with a foreign partner so that we can deliver this engine over the next 10 to 15 years. And this then will give us the capability to make engines for all the future aerial platforms that we make in the country. So I will not call Kaveri a failure. I will say it did not meet the thrust requirements of LCA, but that engine which we have established will be used in another application.
After this tie-up with GE, how hopeful are you that we will be increased for aero engines especially?
This tie-up is only a manufacturing tie-up.
Yes.
It is not for development of a R&D in developing new engine. So this is a manufacturing tie-up which is between HAL and GE. This is for production of GE 414 engine in India. But what I am talking about is and GE, this engine is a 90 kilonewton thrust engine or 98 kilonewton thrust engine. What I am talking about is the development of an engine for our next aircraft, which is, the current engine is for GE, for our LCA Mark II. But when we want to make a future aircraft, which will require a higher thrust engine, we have to start now working on this higher thrust engine. There we are looking for a partnership. GE could be one of the partners. The French company Safran can be one of the partners.
Okay.
Or the UK company Rolls-Royce could be one of the partners. So we are working with, we are in talks with all of them to see if we can co-develop an engine required for our next generation aircraft.
Dr. Kamat, you are also one of the global experts for metallurgy and for this Kaveri engine. Can you give a brief idea or some good information to our audiences? What really went wrong and what we should do for future? Like you said that after 10 or 15 years we will be successful. What is the problem? Because you are one of the few global expert on this metallurgy and on this engine.
So I can explain that.
Yeah.
The aero engine, to make an aero engine, you need three things. First of all, you need to design an engine, which is a aeronautical and mechanical problem.
Yeah.
Then you need the materials which can withstand those high temperatures and stresses.
Yeah.
And third, you need precision manufacturing to make precision parts which go into the engine.
Yeah.
Because the tolerances, the engine rotates at 30,000 RPM, revolutions per minute.
Yeah.
So you need precision manufacturing. And then you need a system engineering capability to marry all.
Yeah.
So it is not just that you have the materials, you can make an engine. It is not that if you have only manufacturing, you can make an engine. So all of these three and the system engineering of combining the knowledge of all three is what is required.
Okay.
As I said, we have good capabilities in all three. But the system engineering capability that we had at that point when we started the program was not sufficient to predict the thrust requirement. So we made a design with expecting that we would meet the thrust of LCA. But when the engine was realized, we were not able to achieve that thrust. So that engine, as I said, is not going waste. It is going to be used in another application.
Okay.
Now we have learnt a lot based on the experience of Kaveri. Kaveri is a 4th generation engine. Now the engine technology has moved to 6th generation. So rather than again taking a risk by developing it on our own, we want to work with another OEM which has some experience and have developed 5th generation engines which are currently being used worldwide.
Okay.
We will work together and together develop a 6th generation. This not only cuts down the time for development, it cuts down our risks. So that is the approach we are taking.
Whether it is possible that India could do it alone, 5th generation?
So I am sure we can do it alone, but the time taken will be longer. So to cut down the time taken, we should do it in a partnership. Because as I said, it is a very challenging technology. The tolerances, you see in the turbine, the metal blade, the turbine blade operates at a temperature. The gas temperature which is impinging on the turbine blade is higher than the melting temperature of the metal which is being used.
Okay.
So your skill required to cool that metal from inside.
Yeah.
So it's a technology which is very cutting edge. That is why only very few countries have mastered it.
Yeah.
So I am sure the capability exists in the country to master it. But time it will require and the risk involved is high. So our appreciation at this point is that it is better for the country to work in collaboration with another country to develop this next generation.
Can't you get best friends? Because in India now, in every sector, Indians are doing much better in NASA also, and in other parts also, in other sectors also. We have got best friends. So for developing this 5th generation engine, how much you are hopeful that whether India can do it on its own? Is it possible, or it is a very hypothetical?
No, as I said, it is possible. But if we do it on our own, it may take 15, 20 years. If we work with a partner, it may happen in 10.
Okay.
The risk for development, I would say the risk will also come down, that there is 50% or 30% chance that that engine may not give the required thrust. When we work with another partner, the risk comes down to 10% or 20%.
Correct.
So it is to reduce the risk and shorten the time that we want to work in partnership. But I am sure with the talent available in the country and lot of our NRI friends, we will be able to do it on our own.
Okay, thank you. So, Dr. Kamat, there was a criticism reported in the media about the Arjun main battle tank and the Tejas light combat aircraft. And would you like to share what was the work done on both these systems to make them acceptable for the users?
There is criticism about the Arjun. Arjun is actually one of the best tanks.
Yeah.
In comparable performance with T90, it has outperformed T90.
But
it has a sustenance issue.
Yeah.
That the numbers ordered for Arjun were very low. So what happened is that the indigenization of those components like the transmission and the engine did not happen in the country. These components or subsystems are bought from foreign countries. Because the numbers ordered by the army was only 108 in the first go and now 112 in the second go. The numbers were not sufficient to indigenize those subsystems in the country. So they did not get, now we are taking up the effort because the new order has come to indigenize the power pack, the other systems which go into Arjun. So now the sustenance has become a problem because when they want those spare parts, it is not available from the vendors. So that is the main challenge with the tank. Otherwise, it's an excellent tank. It outperforms the T90.
Okay. Sir, tell us something about your Sangraha and Samyukta and Divya Drishti electronic warfare systems developed by DRDO.
So these are electronic warfare systems which have been delivered to the services. They have performed their role very well. And now we are developing the next generation EW systems. As you know, in electronics, things keep changing.
Yeah.
So the electronic warfare systems also, now we are now developing the next generation system. These systems have performed very well in there. They have been inducted in the service and have performed very well during this.
Okay. Next is, how do you think about the slow pace of indigenization of defense manufacturing despite many achievements and abilities shown by you and others?
As I said, it was related to the orders coming from MOD. See, if there are no orders, no industry is willing to set up capacity and produce. Only when now the situation is changing. As I said, in the next 5 years, you will see 80 to 90% of all our defense procurement will happen only from Indian sources. I am 100% confident. We have already reached 70%. Earlier, we used to import 70%. See, when you are not buying domestic equipment, why would industry set up manufacturing facilities? Now that the government has made a clear policy which I would like to thank our Honorable Raksha Mantri and Honorable PM for having this strong policy of Atmanirbharta and Make in India. Once these policies have come, so you have already seen the growth of defense manufacturing. Last year, as I said, more than 1 lakh crore worth of defense equipment from indigenous manufacturers was acquired through MOD for our services. This number will keep increasing, and as I said, by another 4-5 years, we will reach 90% of our defense acquisition, capital acquisition through indigenous equipment. So there will be a huge demand or huge growth in our defense manufacturing industry. And as our exports increase, their market will not be only our MOD within the country, but also the global market.
Dr. Kamat, as you said rightly that the Defence Minister and the Government of India giving a much importance on Atmanirbhar Bharat in defence production. And there is a long list announced by RM recently. It is increasing day by day. But what it is practically seen is the role of private sectors in Atmanirbhar Bharat is not that much inspiring as it should be, and the role of MSMEs is not that much inspiring as it should be. What is the problem? Why private sector is not actively involved in this? Where is the problem lacking?
Changing. What you are saying is what was in the past.
Yeah.
Now this transition has happened. You see these numbers, you talk to me in 3 years.
Yeah.
You will see that currently most of the indigenous orders go to PSUs. 70% of the indigenous orders are to PSUs, 30% to private sector. But you see in the next 3 to 5 years, you will see the reverse. 60-70% will be done through the private sector. And MSMEs provide the back end. You see, when you make a large defense system, the order goes to large companies like HAL, BEL or L&T or Bharat Forge. But they don't do all the manufacturing themselves.
That is why I told what all the MSME sectors.
No, they get the manufacturing done by MSMEs.
Yeah.
So the MSMEs don't get direct orders from MOD, but they get the orders from the companies which get orders from MOD. So the MSMEs remain at the back end. No large company in India today can produce everything on their own. They depend on MSMEs for all the production. HAL, in fact, for LCAs outsources nearly 50-60% of all the components come from MSMEs which they integrate.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Now my last question is that like the whole people, the whole nation is proud of ISRO, and one is really very hopeful that for DRDO also, what would be your message to the nation that yes, DRDO can do it and we can get it done, and this will be a pride for India, and this will be another feather in the cap of research and development of our nation. What would be your message for the nation?
So my message for the nation is, lot of things which DRDO does, we cannot openly say. See, unlike ISRO, which is a civilian organization, DRDO is a defense R&D organization. Lot of things that we do provide the kind of deterrence which the country needs, which we don't talk about. So we are not able to highlight lot of our achievements because for the nation's defense, it is better that those are not known openly.
Okay.
So, but I can also assure you that over the next 3 to 5 years, you will see lot of these tactical systems which we can talk about, developed by DRDO, being produced within the country and being used by our services. So my message to our countrymen is the DRDO is on the right track and it will continue to make the nation proud.
So just in addition to this, I am very curious to know Also this because of the brain drain, and because of the resources, human manpower, and the young generation is really very emotional, and they also want to do many things, and there are many talents in IITs, IIMs, and how DRDO will attract those young talents, and how can DRDO really attract them, and they should come here and join, and why they are not coming.
So we are now looking at several ways of interacting with young people. We have started centers of excellence in 15 academic institutions, including IITs, NITs, and IISc, where we are encouraging young students to work on our projects. We are also we are running a contest called Dare to Dream, where we give challenges, where any young person or a startup can participate, and if their idea is chosen as one of the ideas which is a winner, we also fund that project so that they can realize their idea into a viable product. We also give internships to youngsters to come and work in our laboratories. We encourage school children to come on our lab raising days, or on we conduct exhibitions within our campuses to excite young students to work in the defense industry. We have a scheme called the Technology Development Fund, where we can fund up to 50 crores for a given project to startups. So we are trying several methods to encourage young people not only to participate, work with DRDO, but also participate in the nation's growth in defense R&D. We have also started 5 young scientist labs, where every member of that laboratory is below the age of 35, including the director. So we are doing a lot of things to excite young people, not only to join DRDO, but to contribute to defense R&D in this country. And I'm sure you will see the results in the coming years.
One is really hopeful for that, and I must tell our viewers that Dr. Kamat is really very much hopeful that DRDO is working steadily, and like ISRO, it is not often what it is doing, but DRDO is very hopeful. They are doing to fulfill the dream of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to strengthen the defense sector, manufacturing sector, and Atmanirbhar Bharat. Thanks for joining, and thanks for speaking to Uday India, and I must thank all our audiences. Thank you.
Mr. Rath. It was my pleasure.
Thank you, Dr. Kamat.
Thank you.